What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a special edition of Shine Talking Shots. Not sure where Roger is. Pretty sure he got the memo that we were going to have a special edition tonight. Reason being, Dan, we were planning on doing this tomorrow on our regularly scheduled time, but Dan Gray has to work tomorrow, so he's not going to be available. So we wanted to go ahead and get this information out to you guys about the festival as soon as possible. This is also going to give me an opportunity to share the link. So, if you would be so kind as to give me a moment so I can get the link shared to all the groups, we can do so. Won't take just a second. Bear with me. Man, this is laggy and laggy. I hope my audio isn't laggy, but my video is very laggy at the moment. It usually does about this time, but let me get these links shared and give everybody a chance to get settled in, and we'll get the show started. Dan's running a little bit late. He's just stopped to get something to eat as of about 15 minutes ago. So that'll give me an opportunity to get all these links shared and get everything set up and ready. Hope everybody's having a good week so far. But I'm looking forward to talking about Farm to Bottle. We want to get this out as soon as possible, so everyone will have an opportunity to schedule time off if they have to take it with work and make plans for accommodations and all that good stuff. So should be a pretty interesting conversation. It's always a good time with Dan. He's an awesome dude. So should be a pretty fun night talking about one of our favorite festivals. Got to get these links out, and I'm sorry. This bear with me. This my little laptop that I take on the road is it's got Windows 8, and it is slow. I'm surprised it even does this, but it works. So that's what matters most. But it is slow as shit, man. This is griefing compared to my home PC, but we'll get it. Just bear with me a few minutes here. Let me get all this done. Let me jump back in here. Oh, how long you been backstage, man? I'm sharing these links out, and
Yeah, send them out, and then we need to talk real quick backstage, and then we'll get back on. Can you do that?
yeah, I can do that.
All right. Yeah, I'd just been on about a minute.
All right, let me get a couple more links shared. Then we'll dash out for just a second, and we'll be back.
Sounds good.
I'll let you know when we get her done. At least I think we can do that. I don't see why not.
Yeah, I can't see why I wouldn't be able to.
Should. Okay, let me call you. I'm going to call you.
Can you hear me on here? All right. Well, I'm on here, but I can't hear nothing. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, might help if I mute
There we go.
my.
All
I
right.
muted it so we could be all right. So if you want to, kind of give everybody start from the very beginning about the foundation, what it stands for, what it's all about, and how long it's been going, and let me share some more links, and then we'll get to the nitty gritty.
Sounds good. When do you want me to start?
Right now, brother.
All right. So, welcome everybody to this impromptu podcast with me and Mr. Bad Santa Joe there. I'm Dan from the Farm to Bottle Foundation, Farm to Bottle Festival, Harvested Here Festival, Rock the Block Music Festival, lots of festivals. It's kind of my forte and what I like to do, and it eats up the second half of my summer every year. So, but what we're here to talk about today is I'd like anybody that doesn't know about the Farm to Bottle Foundation. I'm going to talk about how that went, or how that came about. So the first year, when we decided to call it the Farm to Bottle Festival, and I had one moonshiner guy named John Benz jump in and asked me if I wanted a moonshiner person there. I said, yeah. I didn't have a name for the event yet. It was just I think I had Bourbon and Moonshine Festival or something like that, and was doing some feeler advertisement on Facebook. And John's like, hey, would you like to have a master distiller here or at the event? I was like, yeah, it'd be great. And that kind of snowballed into like 7 of them coming that year. So we threw that first year together on a wing and a prayer. It had a very small budget. I'd never actually had a bourbon or moonshine festival in my life, so the festival part wasn't new, but the bourbon and moonshine part was brand new. I had no idea. I drank some moonshine, but most of it was stuff that comes commercialized from Gatlinburg.
Well,
Now,
we got him into that. We took
prior to
care of
that, prior to that, in the early 2010s, I had a friend named Bill Hockett that was out at a place that I worked at, and he might have gave me a bottle of some water one day that tasted kind of funny, and it was pretty good. So anyway, that kind of got me on the idea of I'd been looking for another festival to do, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to do a beer, wine, bourbon, and moonshine festival, and it's like, we'll see what happens with that. Didn't know much about any of them other than the craft beer at the time, and I did like some bourbon, but to me, bourbon was basically Jim Beam and Jack Daniels, and that was it. So I decided to, start this festival up. Like I said, originally it was going to be a craft beer festival. That's what it was going to be, and maybe throw some bourbon and other stuff in it, but primarily craft beer. And that was going to be in 2021, right after COVID. Turns out we couldn't do it that year at the place I wanted to do it. The next year we was going to do it there. Uh, 2 people that owned the place split different ways. The one that owned it at the end said that he didn't want to have a festival there, so there was another year out the window. 2023, I found the fairgrounds in Wilmington, Ohio, and
I'd almost forgotten the rocky start. I remember that now.
yeah, it was a real rocky start. The ideal started like pre-COVID. But, I was just kind of brainstorming. I never really had a place to have it. I'm a paramedic, and I was working as a paramedic at a dirt racetrack in Pike County, which is somewhat close to here, about 30, 40 miles away. And the guy down there that was part owner at the time was like, hey, we should have a bourbon and moonshine festival here at the track. I was like, well, that sounds like a damn good idea. Let's do it. So it was, and that was in like August of 2022 or 2021. I was like, be hard to do it this year, but let's do it next year. So about halfway through next year, got talking. Of course, everything fell apart, and that didn't happen. And fortunately, one of my friends that's on the fair board's like, "Hey, maybe you ought to have that at the fairgrounds." So we started talking about that in the fall of 2022, and brought it to fruition in March of 2023. And like I said, from day one, it was pretty much a one-man show. I did pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Then I started getting a few people to help me out that first year. Didn't know who could help me or what they could help with, but I did have Brittany, which she's one of our main people on the board, Brittany Oglesby. She jumped in there and said, hey, I'll take over and, do the vending and stuff. So I was like, yeah, that sounds great. Then a few other people, some people from the Eagles, Kathy Collins, and some others was like, hey, we'll help do this or that or what. They said they would run the gate for me. So before you know it, it's kind of like that rock stew story. I had a pot of water and they all threw some stuff in it, and we made something out of it that you could drink. So anyway, that was 2023. We had the festival. It had, if there was ever a hiccup you could have, it had every single one of them. But we made it through it, and it was a fun, decent little event, and everybody had a good time. So we decided we was going to, create a foundation or a 501c3 because it sets us up for more funding and some other things. There's plenty of places here in Ohio that you can go ask for funding from the state gambling fund and other stuff like that, or funds and stuff like that. So we did the 501c3, started putting us a board together. Jason Davis, he jumped on that year. He tried to jump on in 2023. I didn't know Jason. It wasn't like, I pretty much just had people that I knew help me with stuff that had helped me do stuff before. And I didn't really try and turn anybody away, but I didn't know what anybody's abilities were. And, I didn't even have no abilities for a festival like that when it first started. So, Jason jumped on, his wife Gail jumped on. Then we had more people, just jump on the board. A couple of the fair board members jumped on the board. So second year, we had a lot of people to work with. Still, still a plan that was still a little shaky, standing on shaky ground. But last year was 2 or 3 times as good as the first year, so that was great. Now awesome. We got this board functioning on, probably 6 out of the 8 cylinders right now. Really starting to get some steam going. And, our intention with this is not just to do festivals and parties and whatever. There's things in a community we'll help out with too. We just have to turn a profit first to be able to do that. And, I've started a lot of different festivals and events over the year. You don't make no money the first few years, but once you get some clientele coming that come back on a regular basis, and you can make it affordable, and you can make all those things that you need to do to have a great festival, we're getting to that point where, it's going to be cheap, close to nothing to get in. I mean, it may be $5 or so, but we're not going to charge a whole lot of money to get in.
That's cheaper than any festival out there. So that's awesome.
The first year I did it, I had to charge $40 to get in. I only had a tiny little nest egg of money from some donors, so we was charging $40 to get in. A lot of people came and paid it, and we, gracious for those people doing that. But I hated having to charge people $40 at the gate.
And it's not about making money; it's about not losing money.
Well, it's about when you start a new festival,
do some contributions, right?
Right. When you start a new festival and you're trying to get it off its feet and going, and you got to ask other people for money, eventually they want to see that it's going to be somewhat self-sustaining. They don't want to have to pay for it forever. Right. So, we have to make this a self-sustaining festival, and there's always going to be some money out there. But, last year we was way, high on the budget, way higher than what we really needed to be. Nothing bad about having all those bands, but the bands ate up every single bit of time that I could do anything else.
Right.
And they basically ate up everything from noon to midnight, other than the tastings and stuff. So this year we're changing some of that as well. Going with a different plan, taking some different routes, having some different types of entertainment and stuff there. So like I said, we got the festival together, we got the board together, and now we're focusing on what the farm to bottle festival is. We've had the bottle part down pat from day one. We never really had the farm part down pat. So this year is going to include a lot of focus on the farm aspect of it. Right. And this is something that I would like every person that's in this moonshine community, and I've talked to and met a lot of you. What we really need for this festival, for it to blow sky high, is to get a lot of people there with a lot of relative or related products, selling those products, copper, be it copper or seeds or, anything that would be part of the process of making beer, wine, or liquor. Those kind of people there setting up, we're not charging anybody that's anybody that comes with something that adds to the event, we're not charging them anything. Food vendors and other vendors that are, basically just selling there, they got to pay a little bit of money, but that's even rather cheap.
But, so how much is it for just vendors if they just want to come in and sell their wares or sell?
We discussed that the other day, and where I want to fall at is about $40 for the weekend for a
Awesome.
standard
That's a
vendor,
great price. Yeah, that's cheap.
and $100 for the food vendors. And we want
Right.
everybody to make money. We aren't into. We're not going to try and do any food or anything this year. We're going to stay out of that. So this year we want the vendors to make money. We want people to be able to come in cheap, and we want to have a diversity of entertainment versus having a 12-hour concert with tastings in a building next door.
Okay, for
So
the people asking questions, we'll get to those moonshine related questions at the end after we get through all this. But at the beginning, we want to give Dan time to talk all about the festival. And so if I can't recognize all you all coming in and take your questions one at a time, I'm sorry, but we're going to try to focus on this, and
right.
then we'll get to you guys in a little bit. I'm not ignoring you, but I know Dan, he wants to stump this and get through this. I don't want to interrupt him from time to time, just answering, non-related questions and stuff like that. So we're going to try to hold that to a minimum. But I will add to what he's saying, if you know the farm part. So if you guys know anybody that likes to sell grain or deals in grain to the Chi community, or if you know any Ohio or in that area, Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, area that does deal in grains, maybe get up with them and convince them this would be a pretty good place to go, because there's a lot of money to be made, for a lot of these guys, especially the smaller farmers,
Well,
So
Joe, if you
back to
got a couple of people, if you want to pick a couple questions and answer them real quick, we'll do that. We can
Oh,
stop
that's
every
all
now
right.
and then.
No. We'll go ahead
Okay.
and get. I know how I am. I get going, and I
Right.
hate to get stopped, because my mind, if I get stopped, I'll forget what I was or what I was
Right.
saying,
Yeah, I do that too.
and
That's what
yeah,
ADD does to
yeah,
you.
yeah, it does, and I'm bad about it. So I don't want to interrupt you. I want you to keep right on trucking on. But if like, I might poke in every once in a while and ask a question
Yeah, not a
related.
problem.
Okay.
Not a problem. So that's a little bit about our board. We've got a great team of people together. We've had some more people join this past couple of months or so. So we're up to like a 12-person board. So we went from a one-man show to a 12-person show now, which is way better. I don't mind doing that stuff the first couple of years of an event, but the people that's came along and helped have also been a blessing and is in disguise per se. Because I can't do all this stuff myself forever. You
Yeah.
start. I mean, it's chaos the first couple of years
Yeah, it's a
anyway.
large
Because
event. It's something that's
yeah,
really difficult to micromanage for sure.
absolutely. Yeah, it's a very big event that is hard to do. It's got a lot of moving parts in it. So having a group of people that are on a board and we're all like minded and everybody has the same vision and goals. So it's all good. We got that all established. It's official, and everybody's in a place of management or position where they need to be at, or on a committee or whatever. So we're ready to start hitting on all cylinders. Fortunately, we got 3 years under our belt. I would like to have gotten this started a little bit sooner, but there was also still a lot of questions out there that needed answered. So, we took the time to do that. I'm more comfortable with starting a little bit later, simply because we've got some time under our belt, and 90% of it we already know what we're going to do. So now back to what the festival committee does, or the foundation does. I thought we're going to do this festival in Wilmington. The following year, the Eagles in Hillsboro. And before I go on to anything else, I want to say thanks to pretty much every Eagles organization across the country. I don't know if everybody knows this or not, but just our local one here in Hillsboro this year. In 2024, they gave out $300,000 to charity. Now, they all get money from gambling funds and stuff like that, and there's certain criteria you got to meet to get that money from and whatever, but that's a very giving organization. I mean, the Elks have done the same thing, the VFW has done the same thing, AMVETS has done the same thing. They've all been, very good at giving out money because they want to see stuff like this happen. And, if there's a social community organization, in my eyes, that's what they ought to do. So they're doing everything that they should do, giving out money, and it's going to, events and stuff that is good for the community, gives people something to go do. So, we got to change up some of the stuff we do. So we talked about the farming part already, and we want to expand on that. My number one thing that I wanted to do, and some of it might just be guilty pleasure for me, but I wanted to do a lot of educational stuff at these events. Now, like I said, all the other stuff gets in the way, and the educational stuff both years has taken a back seat. I think Joyce from Jeff the Creed talked a little bit the first year. A couple other people did. Last year, I don't know that we got anybody up there to talk about anything. I'd had JJ come here specifically to do some educational stuff, and it just didn't work out.
I think I
So,
was supposed to as well, but
yeah, you was supposed to as well, and a few others, but part of that was just the timing. I mean, we was trying to shoehorn a cornhole tournament, a hillbilly decathlon, all kinds of stuff, and I had to get it all done before noon because the grounds was taken up by bands the rest of the day. So,
right.
this year we're taking a little bit different focus on that. Going to try and not have so many bands there. I've got 2 each night, and I can tell people what the bands are. The Friday night bands are going to be One Way to Rock, which is a Sammy Hagar tribute. So he'll do all the pre-Van Halen Sammy Hagar stuff, all the
Awesome.
Van Halen Sammy Hagar stuff, and all the post-Van Halen Sammy Hagar stuff. And then we have another local band here called Missing November. They play an array of stuff from the 80s up to 2025. They a little bit of everything.
Cool.
That'll be your Friday night entertainment. And at the festival so far, we've tried to do rock on Friday, more country stuff on Saturday, and that's what we're doing this year. Now, the next name that I throw out there, a lot of you guys are probably going to know. They do a lot of Moonshine Festival events and things such as that, and that would be Lowdown Revival.
Okay.
Lowdown Revival was supposed to come last year. We had some issues with the stage and some other stuff, and I said, you know what, we'll just bring you back next year. I made good on my promise to them. They made good on their promise to me, and they're going to be here this year, and they're going to open up for Dusty and Backwoods Drive. Now, Dusty and Backwoods Drive was a country band that I had the first year. They came up there and killed it with a little 30 or 40-minute set that we gave them. And I had more people ask me about them than they did maybe some of the bigger bands there. So we got those two bands on Saturday evening. There's several things we're looking into.
I'm out. The times for the bands are going to change. It's not going to be like 12 to 12 like it was last year. It's going to
most of the band
later.
stuff will be between probably 8 and 11 at night.
Right. Because last year, and in defense of all of us, the party goes to like 2, 3, 4 in the morning. So
right,
starting, expecting some things to happen and start at like 9. It was a ghost town at 9 o'clock there. Everybody's hungover, and so maybe
on that subject, since you brought that subject up of the campground. One thing that we will have to be better at, and I'll just ask everybody to do this up front. The fairgrounds has a quiet time after 11 o'clock. You can stay up till 5 in the morning if you want. Just got to keep it low, very low. There's a housing development right behind the campground. And although we didn't get a whole lot of complaints, there was a couple of, people making noise at 2 or 3 in the morning. So this year we'll just have somebody walking around. It just kind of keeps that tampered down. Yeah. But, we don't want to discourage people from having a good time and socializing with each other. That's kind of what it's all about. And it's, the location that we have is very, very good for stuff like that. The campground is right by the stage and stuff. Everything's all fine, kind of close. You can stay in your camper and listen to music if you want.
So I like most about it, you don't have to, go stand in front of the stage and half a mile away or get in the car and drive somewhere. You can do everything right there. Just park, forget about it, but throw the keys away and have a great time. You've got food there. You've got entertainment there. Pitch a tent, bring your camper. It's a lot, and that's one of the things I love most about it is you can just do everything there. You don't have to leave unless you want to. There's a lot of accommodations and rooms, and things available.
Another day we'll get on here, and I'd like to talk about that. I'm all about getting the people and the businesses around that community or any community I do an event in, try and get them some business too. I used to do paramedic coverage at the Easy Rider Rodeo in Chillicothe. That thing brought, I don't know how many millions of dollars into Chillicothe, Ohio's, economy every year from that one weekend they did over Labor Day. And, it takes a while to get your festival to that size where 20, 30,000 people are showing up. But it could eventually get there, and the fairground can accommodate stuff like that. Right. So, having something out of fairgrounds is a good place to have it. And a lot of the events I've seen over the years, that's where a lot of people do stuff at. So now on to some other things. So the Farm to Bottle Festival kind of, when I was talking about the Eagles, it's they asked me, the local Eagles here where I live at, was like, hey, we'd like to have something kind of like
Well,
that.
explain to them what the Eagles is, because everybody's going to say the Eagles are going to be there playing.
No, not those Eagles. It's the Fraternal Order of Eagles. It's
Okay.
basically a social community club. Um, Lots of stuff you can do at those places, but there's a lot of gambling and drinking there. That's kind of some of the things. But they give so much to their purpose is to give, drink,
Two of my
gamble,
favorite
give,
vices.
yeah, drink, gamble, give money to the community. That's what
Yeah.
they do. And
Awesome.
yeah, it's a great thing. So the one in Hillsborough here said, hey, we'd like to have some kind of a festival here. And I was like, well, it'd be a month apart, and I don't want to do an exact replica festival. So I started the other festival this past year called the Harvested Here Festival.
Right.
So Harvested Here Festival is just exactly what it says. We went ahead and took a weekend that the farmers market is always there, and we just took that farmers market, instead of being 8 till 1 o'clock, we moved it 8 till like 11 o'clock at night. We got extra vendors, we got local food. We try and do as much local stuff as we can, but we don't deter people that's not local either. But we want as many people with their local goods and services and stuff like that to come set up a tent, meet the people in the community where you're at, so on and so forth. Now, most of the focus of that festival is on that kind of stuff. So we got to talking this year, what can we do at the Harvested here to, make it better, make it more, um, I'm missing the word here, more inviting for somebody, wanting to come there and go to the festival, have some reasons there. So one of the things that our whole society, in my opinion, has lost over the years is, kind of that lost ways book. How do you can food? How do you dehydrate food? How do you, how do you grow corn if I want to grow some corn for myself? And at the end of the day, how do I dry that corn out and make it to, make it somewhere where I could use it for some moonshine or something if I wanted to? So, all of those things, we've got several different categories that we're going to have people speak on: homesteading, just all self-sufficient living. The new one that's out right now is the freeze-dried dehydrating.
Right.
So there's all kinds of stuff like that. We have several people in the Hillsborough community that want to come out and show what they know. And, my mom did all that stuff when I was a kid. I paid a little bit of attention.
Mm-hmm.
I can't swear that
all of them did it.
I can't swear that I'd be able to pull it off without a little bit of insight right now, without, kind of looking at it again. It's been 30 or 40 years back. So having some stuff where, a younger generation that probably hasn't seen much of that at all can come out and figure out, hey, how do I take these 5 bushels of tomatoes that I grew in my garden and not, have them waste at the end of the day? What am I going to do? Can I freeze it? Can I put it in a jar? What do I need to do and how do I do it? And it's basically all free educational stuff. Now, I got a couple other friends that are in another nonprofit thing that I've also been helping with called Strangers Helping Strangers. And Jeff and Samantha from that group, which I think they're in the Moonshine Militia too. And you met them down there at Old Fort when we was down there doing stuff back in the fall. Mm-hmm. They got a podcast called All in Ohio, and it's all about homesteading and just good, clean eating and living, basically stuff that takes place in Ohio and all about Ohio. Nothing wrong with any other state, and I don't want to say nothing about anybody else's state, but in the states that you live in, I think it's good to have something that focuses on your local stuff. We can't grow oranges here, so oranges don't grow here. We're not going to be talking about oranges because we can't grow them here in Ohio. But so the things that we can grow and the things we can do, I think it's good to focus on those. And I've even got several. There's a lot of distillers here in Ohio. A lot. Our distillery trail here, I think, has more than Kentucky does. I think Kentucky has 40 something on their distillery trail.
Probably, yeah, on the Bourbon Trail.
Yeah, on the Bourbon Trail. This Ohio Distillers Trail. Last time I looked, I think they had 50 something places on there, and there's 85 distilleries in Ohio. 55 of them are on that trail, or roughly that. So, I mean, there's a lot going on here in Ohio, and, we just like to share what Ohio does with everybody else. So if you can make it up here.
And for people from other areas, the topic applies to everybody, canning food, and all that, it's the same no matter where you are. So, you'll learn, it doesn't apply just to, Ohio. So if you're from Northern Kentucky, Indiana, West Virginia, come on over because it's like Dan said, it's a lost art. We do a lot of canning and pressure cooking and pressure canning. And I think a lot of people don't understand that, you can do meats
Yeah,
And really,
absolutely.
it's the best way to store meat. Putting it in the freezer. You got to eat it quickly, or else it gets freezer burnt. Unless you vacuum seal it, and then there's the taste issue and the texture issue. Where canning it, it preserves a lot more flavor, than them freezing. And now freeze drying, that's a different story, but uh, yeah, it's definitely becoming a lost art and something young people should, everybody should learn and have knowledge of, even if they don't do it every season. It's definitely a good knowledge to have.
Right. Absolutely. So this year, when I got to talking about this Harvested Here festival, it's going to be at the same place it was last year, right around the courthouse square, downtown Hillsboro, Ohio, right in front of the Eagles building. We use the parking lots, the parking spaces, the streets, everything that we can possibly, put a tent on or a stage on or whatever. We got several bands coming. One of them from North Carolina. There will be the, let me think, hard act to follow. Is that the Black Crows? Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
hard to handle. Yeah, that's it. But it's a Black Crows tribute. I think we got a Beatles tribute. There's going to
Cool.
be some other ones in there. I don't have everything set in stone yet, but some really good, solid music there. Plenty of vendors, plenty of stuff to come, and then we do a small version of the Farm to Bottle Festival inside the community room at the Eagles. So there'll be tastings in there. There'll be some local moonshine, bourbon, wine, whatever else. We'll have some of that stuff in there too. You can go in and do some tastings. We'll have a whole table of stuff from throughout Ohio, and even some of the stuff that, stuff like this that might actually come from Kentucky, or
Yeah.
there'll be stuff like that there too. So, it won't just be Ohio stuff, but we'll have a definitely a focus on Ohio stuff. So that festival is going to be August 15th and 16th in downtown Hillsboro. Just kind of wanted to get that one out there, see if anybody's interested in any of that. Same thing, lots of educational stuff, so on and so forth. Now, let's move forward 1 month after that, and you're going to be at the Farm to Bottle Festival. So
All right.
Farm to Bottle Festival, it already has, like I said, the drinking and the bottle part. We've had that down pat since about halfway through the first year. Now we're going to focus on the farm part. Wilmington, Ohio is a farming community. We have a farming college there. So we are going to try and integrate some of that educational stuff through them if they're willing to participate. Totally up to them what they want to do. But they have at least shown some interest in it. I'm going to have JJ Jackson coming back this year. JJ's going to teach some classes. Bad Santa here,
Yeah.
he'll be teaching some classes.
Yep.
So we will have some educational stuff. Can't tell you exactly everything that we're going to have right now because I don't know what that is. I wish I could just lay out the whole thing for you and tell you what we have. And we've got lots of ideas, and maybe not all of them will come to fruition. I'm not afraid to talk about ideas. Just know that if I talk about an idea, it doesn't mean that's necessarily what's going to go on there. It's just something that, I think would be a good idea, and it's kind of a feeler, see what people think about it.
Yeah,
Some
just
people
got to
say,
throw it
yeah,
against the wall and see if it sticks.
yeah.
Just
Some people
try
be like,
different
I don't want
things
any
and-
damn education. I want to drink
Right.
beer and moonshine.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not adapting to what people want and trying different things and trying to make it better, it just gets stagnant. So just
Absolutely.
always striving to make it more entertaining, to find out what the people want, and year to year, you can add things, take things away that wasn't so popular, and see what the people want to see.
Absolutely. And that's kind of my focus and the board's focus for the festival this year is to really hit the farm part hard. We will have all the same fun that you had there before for the drinking part of it. The
Right.
expo center is a great place to have that at. That building is usually completely full, and it kind of overflows even into the next building. Maybe we'll be able to fill up both buildings. With people just with moonshine and distilling and brewing and winemaking,
Yeah,
all of that in those two buildings.
Hillbilly brought some grains and stuff. So yeah, for those people wanting the farming stuff, I'm pretty sure Philbilly will, have some, grains to sell there if people are interested in getting that. And hopefully, we can get some more interested in that. And they always bring a little copper stuff and stuff that you can order from them. But yeah, that'll be a little bit of everything for everybody.
And even somebody I had the first year, I wish the guy would have came because I'd have bought some stuff off of him. I had a guy come the first year contact me. He's like, "Hey, I sell 15-gallon food grade barrels to people that make beer, wine, and moonshine." I was like, "Well, hell yeah, come on up." Well, he didn't make it. He didn't make it, and I didn't get the damn jugs. But
Hey, we
it would have
talked
been
to
nice if he
Ian
did.
and
So
Philbilly. They'll probably bring some if if you
It
want.
should, the festival should be a mix of a lot of things. It should have some entertainment and other stuff, but it ought to be like a swap meet too, where you'll be able to go there and you can take some goods home from you that's related to what the
Right.
festival is.
Right.
And if it's from Ohio, all the better, you know.
Right.
So and plenty of liquor. We got plenty of Ohio distillers. But if somebody's from out of state and they're able to sell their stuff here in Ohio, I'm not going to discourage them from coming either. You just have to be. Ohio's got some weird liquor laws, and you pretty much have to be a licensed, or you have to have. Let's say you made Eagle Rare. Let's say you made that. If you make Eagle Rare and it's not for sale in Ohio, you can't come here and set up and let people do
Right, right,
tastings.
right.
Period.
Yeah, it has to be available there.
Yeah,
It
has
and
to.
it's Ohio's a little different than a lot of states as far as the way that their TTB does or ABC. They call it the ABC there,
This is a control state,
right?
and that's
Right.
exactly what it is. It's a good name for it. It's a
And
control
it's
state.
it's amazing that it's still the way it is this day and time. But I think there's benefits and issues both with it. I think one of the good things is they take everything you make. One of the bad things is they price it for you. So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Well, it's
so
really a
there's
weird thing because I've actually looked into the whole TTB thing and getting a state license. And I talked to the guy I know in the state liquor board or state liquor association there, and he said, basically, he says the easiest thing if you ever want to sell something here, be able to sell it in Ohio, is get you a TTB, get an A3A license, and do nothing but sell stuff out of your own storefront on some given street, and that's the only place you sell it. So that's the quickest pathway to be able to sell your own liquor. When you want to do anything else with it, and you want to expand and put it in supermarkets and everywhere else,
right,
get into a lot more licensing, a lot more people coming to inspect things, and whatever else takes a lot more time, a lot more money.
more
So
control.
if I did something, that's what I would want to do. But that's exactly what they told me. Everything is basically in bond. You have to have a shelf in your building that's got all of the liquor that is going to be put out on the shelf. And it has to have like some caution tape around it and other stuff that it's in bond and can't be touched until you're ready to sell it for the state of Ohio. Even though it's your
Right.
liquor, you put it there. They buy it from you and then you put it back on the shelf and then you sell it for them. That's how it is. They buy it from you. They give it back to you, and then you sell it for them, and you send them the money.
Even if you want it for personal consumption, you
Yeah,
still
even
have to pay
if,
them.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, so that's it in a nutshell. That's a lot of the stuff we got going on this year with the Farm to Bottle Foundation, the festival, the Harvested Here Festival. I also do a really cool. If you're into '80s rock, I do Rock the Block in Wilmington, Ohio.
Yeah.
Me and Suzanne and Melissa from the Visitors Bureau, we put our heads together back in 20. Let me think what that was. 2017, in the fall of 2017, and brought that to fruition in 2018. Started out the same way, 4, 5, 600 people the first year inside the theater. We're up to 10, 12,000 people,
Awesome.
up there now. So, and we're on 2 blocks instead of 1 block. So all of this stuff grows. Everything's in progression. Last year, the Harvested Here Festival was probably the best first year festival I ever did. But I had a lot of first year screw ups at other festivals that we was able to apply to that festival and not have. But, it
Right.
still came with its own set of hiccups and stuff. But, all in all, it went really well. So I think this year to go even better. We've got reasonably good funding for both of these events. And we want to make it so people don't have to pay much. I mean, that's the goal. We're going to charge a little bit, but not a whole lot. The camping and stuff will be there. Now, if once we get all of those details worked out on the finalization of the
Yeah,
date
we'll
and all
get
the
you back
contracts
on as
and
far as dates
yeah,
and
and
all
the
that.
contracts are signed, and we know 100% that that's exactly when and where it's going to be at. We'll announce that, and it'll be announced within minutes after we get that contract. I promise you.
Yeah.
So then probably from 10 of us.
Yeah, we'll get it out there.
If you know anybody that's on the festival committee, I'm sure you'll hear about it
And
right
I
after
saw
we
a
get it.
question
So,
earlier flash by about when we're going to update the web page. As soon as they have a date and a time, then they will be able to update it. Until then, they don't want to, do any
yeah,
updates. to
we
it
actually
until
got
they have
somebody
it.
taking
So,
over a lot of our advertising and marketing this year too. The Visitors Bureau up there in Wilmington, they're going to do a lot of that for us.
cool.
And they've done a great job with Rock the Block over the years. I mean, they've, like I said, took it from I did a lot of the stuff with putting the bands and stuff together, but the Visitors Bureau has done all the marketing and advertising for it and drawn the people to the website and got people to come to the event. So it's also a team effort, and those guys have done so great that they're going to help us this year with this festival, do the marketing and stuff. And like I said, I've done the one man show thing. I'm just kind of used to doing that. It doesn't bother me, but one guy can only do so much. And then once you get tapped out, then you start screwing up on stuff. And this, this doesn't go like it's supposed to, and that doesn't go like it's supposed to. And you're putting out fires all the time. And I was a
Yeah.
firefighter for a while. I didn't really like it, so I don't want to play firefighter anymore.
It's tough being in 10 places at once as expected, it's
Yeah.
tough, definitely.
After the first year, I nicknamed myself Hey Dan.
Yeah.
Last year I was actually, the last year I was able to stop out in the campgrounds, meet you guys, talk to a lot of different people. I didn't stay out there all day, but there was several times I had the opportunity to go talk to people in the campgrounds. First year, nothing. It was run. That's all I did. 24 hours a day for 3 days straight. And, I got 2 or 3 hours of sleep each night, and it was just being pulled and tugged everywhere. It was worth it in the long run, but it sucks in the moment.
I didn't get to make the first year, but after hearing Ian and Rigsby and them from Still Talking, they were, I guess they had you on there, and they were all showing up, and man, everybody was talking about the festival, how awesome it was, how great it was, and I'm like, man, I got to go there next year. I wish I'm sad, sorry I missed it, and then.
Right.
Went the next year, and it was everything they said it would be, and then some. It was
well,
it's my favorite festival.
I try to give props to everybody that was integral, especially in that first year. And Sean Rigsby, he was probably the second or third person that jumped in and said, "Yeah, I'll come up there." He told me about his podcast. I stumbled across American Whiskey's podcast by accident on Easter Sunday in 2023, and I got on there and just sent the link to the festival page. I just made it like that day. And so, I got those guys on there. They started talking about it. They started bringing in some of the master distillers and stuff, talking on their show. So we've had a lot of people over the years, the last 3 years, that's really helped a lot. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot more people that's going to help too. And like I said, we're not trying to, hit a home run and make thousands and thousands of dollars off this, but we do want it to be sustainable. Most of our profit, and I'll tell everybody up front, most of our profit that we plan to make comes from our beer and liquor sales. That's where we make our money at. I don't give a shit if we make money off anything else. As long as the other stuff gets paid for and whatever, I don't really care if we can keep it at $5 for somebody to get in the gate, then that's what we're going to do this year. And, I don't see anything at the moment, unless something happened to some of the funding somewhere or something, that would ever stop us from being at that $5 to $10 mark.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah,
we got some stuff I want to add in, and I got to figure out if I add this other thing in. And I'll tell you what it is. It's just a thought. It's not written on paper yet, but I am contemplating some wrestling, like big time wrestling. Now, we could do a little bit higher gate admission if we did that and let everybody into wrestling for free, or you could make it a separate paid event, or maybe just sell the premium seats and let everybody have the non-premium seats for free. If it comes to fruition, something like that will be in there too. And that might be figured into the gate price. But like I said, it still wouldn't have to be more than $10 would be the absolute most.
Yeah,
so,
I think people would be just as into more of a novelty wrestling or female mud wrestling than having WWE stars there and trying to make it a serious thing.
Well, the micro wrestling was one that we've had a lot of people ask about too.
Right. Yeah. And I'm sure Shonda, can definitely hook us up on that. And maybe a little boxing match or
I forgot about that. There is this one boxing match that's going to take place. I didn't forget about it. I thought about it earlier before we got on here, but it just came to mind just now. So the first year, a couple of people that came from the master distillers, Matt Rigsby and Sean Brown, Matt Brown and Sean Rigsby, they got to brainstorming this year. They just wanted to do something. They're not mad at each other. They're friends, but they're going to have a boxing match, which is an exhibition thing, and for everybody to get to. But, I think both of them's going to bring their A game, and, they're going to put on a good little exhibition. They don't want to
lose. It's not going to
They're going to put on a good little exhibition boxing match at this festival, and that's going to be probably one of the highlights of it, in my opinion.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
So if you got any questions, have them start asking.
All right, let's see here.
I'm going to step over here and get a drink real quick.
All right, brother. What's going on, Kimbo? Hey, Zero. All right. Philip Albert, let's see. So making 18-gallon cracked corn and cracked rye mash, and they've never used rye. So how much corn to rye? There's no right or wrong answer to that. How spicy do you like it? And If you want it to be spicier, do a finer grind. If you want it to be less spicy, more of a coarse grind. But as far as percentage wise, I mean, it's just totally up to you. I've seen people go 5, 10, 20, 100, percent rye. So it's just, it's just how much do you like the rye, and you can, experiment with it. Start out at maybe 10, 15%. And if it's not spicy enough, then go a little higher. If it gets a little bit too much, maybe change your grind, or cut back on it a little bit. But yeah, there's no right or wrong answer to that, Philip. If you really like the rye, I'd go with a higher starting percent. Maybe 15 or 20. Um, a lot of places will do about that, 15 to 20 to 30 if you want it high rye. But I mean, some, like I say, they'll do 80 or 100 rye. So yeah, that's like saying, what yeast should I use? There's no right or wrong answer for that. Everybody has their preferences. Um, Tomorrow night we do still do the Q&A, and hop back on here tomorrow night, and I'll have some charts that I can show you that show different distilleries and the different percentages of grain they use in their mash bills, and I can share that with you tomorrow night. Can he damn but not me? Okay, yeah, we got that sorted out. Yes, I muted myself, Kimbo. Thanks. What's going on, Gordon? So farm to bottle festival location, Wilmington, Ohio. Thank you, Kathy, for pointing that out. And it's very convenient, kind of close to Kings Island if you just want to, figure on it that way. Most people in the whole region have been to Kings Island, so it's fairly close to there. How
Less
far
than
down?
30 minutes.
Yeah, it's within 30 minutes from Kings Island. And the venue's awesome. Don't worry about running out of camp space. They've got tons of camp space. There's places you can tent camp. You can bring your campers. They've got, a lot of hotels, motels. There's some Airbnbs fairly close by. I know Roger and them were just right across the street last year, and I'm pretty sure they're going for the same place this year, and they just walked over. So it's easy. Santa likes to talk. Yeah, I know. And I've been sitting there chomping at the bit, Damon. I couldn't stand it, man.
Well, I talk 100 miles an hour sometimes, so it's hard to squeeze a word in there.
That's all right, brother. That's what we're here to hear. You, not me. It's your night. Tomorrow, I won't shut up, though. I promise.
Well, if anybody's got any farm to bottle questions, shoot them on there.
All right.
Santa can read them off to me.
I'm scrolling. Let's see. Yes, I am. So let's see. Other than the location, let's see. My great grandmother decided to make an appearance finally 4 a.m. this morning. Awesome. Congratulations, Mark. Congratulations, brother. Papaw. What's going up, Uncle Joey? Mr. Kendall in the house. Hey.
What's up, Joey? Uncle Joey? Or Jason, whichever.
Yes, I'll be bringing some root beer. Definitely be bringing some more root beer this year. I won't have any grappa, but I'll have my root beer. It takes a couple years for me to make grappa, and I don't have any. I didn't get any grapes this year, but if I can, hopefully they'll be a little bit maybe next year. But generally, it takes almost 2 years because I aged the wine and then I aged the grappa, so it's slow. But yeah, I'll have some other stuff for sure, and there'll be plenty of samples from everybody. It's just getting bigger, and people are bringing more, and everybody's sharing their favorites and their best, and that's a lot of fun. Okay, but general questions about making or anything, we'll try to address those tomorrow. But we're going to try to focus on farm to bottle. We're going to try to keep it limited. I thought Frade was moving his podcast night to Monday from Tuesday, but I guess he hasn't done that yet. So I didn't mean to, but Friday on the shit show, he mentioned that he wanted to change to Monday, and I thought, well, that'll be, and then Dan wasn't able to do Wednesday, so I thought, okay, well, Tuesday should be okay then. So sorry about that, Frade, man. Didn't mean to, brother. What's going on, Justin? All right, let's answer some of these other questions. Oh yeah, Philbilly and Ian and all them were talking about how great it was the first year, and you know, and they loved that it was close by, and Wes saw all of them. I think Wes grew up in that area, so they were all stoked that they had such a great festival close by, and were able to take some of their stuff there. I know last year Big Easy set up a still and out front was running the still, running water, of course, but kind of demonstrating, how a nice big steel runs, and that, got quite a bit of attention from people driving by.
I
So,
do have something to add into that, and we'll have him do that again this year. And even if somebody else wants to run maybe a smaller still or whatever,
mhm.
what I would really like to get is somebody that has some experience making some essential oils. I'd really love to get somebody there demonstrating that throughout the weekend.
Yeah, it's too bad we can't get Lisa down there. She is a
Right.
master of all that good stuff. She's our go-to gal on that. I
And
missed a question from Brian. Hey guys, I have a 20-gallon traditional all copper. Should I add another thumper to add more flavor? I'd say if you've got a thumper and you want to add flavor or more flavor, add some jars after your thumper. Add a couple of jar rigs, or a couple of jars. Those infuse flavor pretty well. Or add a drain to your thumper and just keep charging it if you have an infusion port. Keep charging, recharging your thumper with an infusible. But yeah, it's in Ohio, Steve. Thanks, brother. Let's see. Going to make my first try at some shine this year. Hope my younger brother doesn't go blind. Unless you concentrate those heads and four shots, it's kind of a misnomer. Really, you're not you're you'd have to kind of concentrate fours and heads to really get that high of a percentage to cause you to go blind. Now, I will say it can taste pretty bad if you don't make proper cuts and get those out of there, but generally, your palate will tell you no. So if you get a lot of acetone and it tastes horrible, you need to go a little bit deeper in your cuts and join the Moonshine Militia, and ask your questions, or come in here and ask your questions. We can help you, learn more about making your cuts and learn you how to detect, your acetone and going by smell and touch and taste. I generally, like to put jars out, and when you're going from, you know, generally that comes with a little bit of experience, but when you go from your heads to your hearts, start using smaller jars so you can make those finer cuts and then make it all out to tails are easier to discern, and you can make that cut there as well with smaller jars and go on out. But when you're testing, always start at that fringe area in your tails and start there and work backwards, because if you start with if the high end with your head heart cut, you get some acetone on your tongue. It just kind of stays there. It's hard to taste anything except that, after you start sampling other things. So I usually start with the tails and sample backwards to towards the heads. How long you leave the mash sit? As long as it takes. I hate that answer, but there's so many different factors that come into it. The type of yeast you use, the temperature, the pH, what you're actually mashing. So there's so many things, but using a hydrometer will help you. And again, join the Moonshine Militia, jump in there, and we'll get you set up. Or keep coming here. We can help you. We will teach you about hydrometers and getting your starting gravity, and that'll give you an idea of how much sugar and how much alcohol you can expect based on that sugar, whether it's converted from grains or just from a bag of sugar. So it'll tell you how much alcohol you can expect out of your mash, and then you just keep using that hydrometer to tell you when it's done, and then you'll know when it's ready to run. But a lot of times you'll have a cap drop and other signs without using the hydrometer, but it's so much easier using that $5 hydrometer, $6 hydrometer, whatever. That's definitely. Yeah, yeah, you can go 90, 100% right, Fred. I mean, it's just what you like. And again tomorrow, I'll hunt that up. I'm using my laptop right now, so I'll have to dig into the link I sent someone else, so I can save it on this laptop and post it for you tomorrow. And let me make a note of who that was. Come back tomorrow And Philip, Mr. Smith, let me write your name down and come back tomorrow, same time, same back channel, and I will get you a. And for anybody else that wants it, because everybody loves seeing these mash bills from all these major distilleries, so it's great. So that's my little note to remind me, because if I don't make that, I'll forget, because I forget everything. Getting old sucks. So
Yeah.
I'm Mr. Post-it note. I have notes everywhere now. All right, let me scroll back down and see where we are. Yeah, I'm behind. Let's see. Something about, I think it'd be a great place to go to. I'd love to get a deer and can it and bring some to hand out. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people can meat, man.
Yeah.
It's unless
Absolutely.
you've done it before, a lot of people are like, I can't imagine, and it doesn't look right sitting in a jar on a shelf. You're like, shouldn't that be in the refrigerator? You're programmed into thinking these things, and then you try it, and it's like, damn, how that was a year old. Wow,
Well,
year old steak.
it's gonna take in all of that flavor that you put in it that you may not necessarily get when you cook it.
Yeah, yeah, you'll be shocked of how good canned meat is.
Yeah. That's one of the ones I'm gonna try actually.
All right, have a 20-gallon traditional. Okay, yeah, we got to that one already. Um, let's see. What's going on, Jeff? Awesome. Been watching Field Billy. Perfect. Well, join the militia. That's his group or our group that he started. So join there, and we can help you on a day-to-day basis, or you can keep tuning in here and asking your questions, and we'll definitely try to help you any way we can. George Washington's recipe, 60% rye. Yeah, I think Amanda and Alan Bishop and them were making that up there at I think at his old distillery, Mount Vernon Distillery. So yeah, that's something else. Maybe we can get Amanda and Alan on here sometime to talk about that little trip they make every year. Right, Clint. Yeah, if you don't have a hydrometer, you can get one, but until you get one, you can taste. You can see how sweet it is when it starts, and then you can watch it, and the cap drops, and you can see that it's starting to bubble less. And you keep sticking it, and stick your finger in there, taste it, or get you a little dip out in a spoonful and taste it. And when it starts tasting a little bit sour or neutral or like a dry wine, she's pretty close and about ready to run. Thanks, Clint, for helping out, brother. Fred has been from Florida to Farm to Bottle twice. Excellent for a day trip. Plan to stay late to partake in the many shines. Awesome, brother. Yeah, I mean, like I say, the best way to do it is camp there, hang out, throw the keys away. But do go out and the town and go to some of the restaurants and enjoy some of the good places to eat. If you're not into camping, there's lots of really nice accommodations around there. It's a nice place. So enjoying the town and the festival. So that's what it's all about is bringing people in and getting people used to that community. Hell, you never know. Some people might just decide to move there. They just man, this is awesome. 30 minutes to Disney.
Hey,
What?
if you're an Eagles member, you can go to the Eagles there in town too, because they basically are the primary sponsor for that festival, for the Farm to Bottle Festival. And I'd plug the Eagles a lot, but I tell you what,
Absolutely.
I can't find enough good stuff to say about them because the Wilmington Eagles, same thing, couple $100,000, $150,000, $200,000 last year out to local events and charities and stuff like that. So yeah, and anytime you're around, you want to stop over, especially if you're an Eagles member, you can go to any Eagles there is. So
Right.
swing in there, have a drink, tell them hi, tell them thanks for sponsoring the festival.
Absolutely. All right, Dixie. Yeah, your needs still vary. A lot of times, if you do like an all grain and you use the grain, starches and the grains for conversion, you can expect a 1060, 1070 if everything comes out really well. If you're doing like a rum, or you plan on doing like a vodka and you're going to distill out a lot of the flavor, like in a vodka or something like that, you could cheat it up to 1080 or something like that to get a little bit more volume. And it won't hurt, but you don't want to try to add too much sugar to like your grains. It tends to get hot if you add too much. So, like Fred said, a 1070 is a good, excellent starting point. So, but if you get a 1060 with your grains, you don't have to add, sugar to bring it up to that 1070. You can do the 1060 and get a really good drink. You might have a little bit, maybe a half a jar less, depending on the size of your rig and then, of course, the volume of your mash ton. But yeah, it'll turn out pretty well. Be real smooth. What's going on, Jeremy? What's up, brother? Jeremy says, "Hey, Dan."
What's up,
Jeremy
Jeremy?
Stewart.
How's Jeremy doing? Is that Jeremy Meredith?
No, Stewart.
Oh, Stewart. Jeremy Stewart. Hey, how you doing? That's Justin Meredith, ain't it?
That's
Sorry.
just Meredith. Yeah, man.
Yeah. Okay. I well, I can't remember
Yeah, there's a
everybody's
lot
name.
of Jeremy Justins and
I know who they are once we get the last name attached to the first name, though.
yep.
Yeah, I can't really see the comments on here because I'm just through
Yeah,
StreamYard. So
tough. Yeah, I'm trying to address them as they come. What proof do the tails normally show up at? It depends on your setup. If running like a column or a deflegmator, it's generally going to be a touch higher, and then they'll just drop off to nothing. I mean, you'll get down to like 110. You'll start out at like 145, 150. You'll run pretty much constantly to 130, and then a lot of times it'll go 110 and just drop off the shelf, to nothing. But traditionally, a lot of people will quit collecting, around 80 to 90 in that range. But at the same time, you still have 80 proof stuff coming out. So don't just throw the rest away because that's 80 proof. That's what a lot of your jars are. So there's a lot of ethanol still left in that. So run your tails out to about 10 or 20, and just add that to your next. You can add it to your thumper or to your next run. Don't add it to your mash, just to your next run. When you're getting ready to dump everything in, you're racking your mash into your distiller. Just throw your tails in with that, fill it on up, and you'll get you reclaim the ethanol out of that. Absolutely, yeah. Beef much better canned. It's awesome, much more tender. Yeah, I do too, Clint, and I appreciate you helping, man. I can't keep up a lot of times, so I appreciate you helping, brother. What are the contests for shine at farm to bottle? Well, there's generally a few contests. This year, there is going to be a brandy contest. Um, it's going to be watermelon. The rules are has to be watermelon based. It can't be like a corn base or anything else. It has to be watermelon. Now, if that's a watermelon rum, if you want to, just do the sugar. So it's basically going to be a watermelon brandy. You can add sugar, but as far as other things, nope, no post flavoring. You can use your, infusing your thumpers and jar rigs and all that. But once it comes out of your jar rig, nothing above your condenser. A lot of people want to have maybe a little flavor dripper above the condenser drip. No, no. Someone was asking about that last year, and that's something I've always thought that would be novel to do. To say, well, you said as long as it comes out of the tap, but nothing post flavored on the watermelon. But they generally have a lot of different a different one. So it'll be like a rum 80 to 100, the best rum 80 to 100, maybe a spice rum category, maybe a bourbon or whiskey aged category that that would be aged in on oak, and then maybe a best just pure corn liquor, white dog, and we'll have plenty of time to talk about that. I'm not sure if the guy that ran it last year is probably. I don't know if he's going to run it this year or not, or if Phil Billy or Ian wants to take over and run it. We'll find somebody that'll help run it and set the rules, make sure that everybody follows the rules. And a lot of times there was a lot of categories, and sometimes there was only one jar in a specific category. So instead of letting them just walk away with the win, they kind of moved it into other categories, and that happened to a few of us. But it's all good. It's just a lot of fun. It's just bragging rights. There's no participation trophies for everybody or anything like that. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Got here late. This is the Farm to Bottle, Pennsylvania. Cool. You can come straight south to it. It's in Wilmington, Ohio. It's going to be early September. We're not sure exactly when yet, but kind of keep that part of your calendar open. Could be the first few weeks, or so, but we can't make any kind of promises or anything like that until everything's signed, and then we can for sure say. We don't want to say one date and then after they get the contract done, oh wait, it's going to be then. Oh, I already made reservations and all this, so we don't want that happening. So we'll just have to, cross that bridge when we get to it. But it should be pretty soon, and we'll definitely let you know. We'll have Dan back on. But wanted to bring him in here just to familiarize a lot of people about it. For those that haven't heard, and for the new people, probably the ones that haven't heard, if you've been around a while, you should have heard about it, because it's definitely one of the best festivals every year. It's one of my favorites for sure. And I love the venue, having everything there. It's awesome. Yeah.
On that date thing, the only reason I really don't say anything is because early on I did say we was going to do it, whatever that weekend, the 19th and 20th, I think it was. And originally that was the plan. Problem is there was a scheduling conflict there that I didn't know about and hadn't heard about it yet. And, just didn't really think that something else would be scheduled out that far. It's kind of on me for just speaking a little too early on it. So I put that date out there, and it's like, damn, now I got to change it. So I don't want to have to do that again. So when we give you the date, which will be probably within the week, right. When we give you the date, that'll be the date that it is, and then we'll have contract in hand. I just want to make sure it's 100% this time, so we don't. I hate to have to go back and tell somebody a date a third time. So
right, yeah, we don't want people making reservations and telling their boss, I want this weekend off, or I don't want. I'm going to.
And then oh, wait a minute, never mind.
Yeah,
let me trade that weekend for the other weekend.
Yeah, we don't want any of that happening. People get mad at us, so we want it to be set in stone, and that way everybody can make their plans, and we understand that it does take quite a bit of planning, and we want everybody to be able to come and not get their dates mixed up and have to reschedule and all that. What's going on, Frank? JJ's. Oh man.
Yeah.
You're gonna do that to me.
That's some good stuff.
Yeah, man.
I'll tell you what, have you ever tried this one? I was never really a big rum person, but I've kind of gotten into rum here as of late. This is bamboo rum. And it's like a spiced rum of sorts, but it's really, really good, man. I love that stuff.
Is it made with bamboo or something, or what?
No, it's just called bamboo.
Somebody was copying Alfredo or something. And, we've had a little bit of that already.
This has been around for at least about 10 years, because 10 years ago, one of my kids was drinking it. So I know it's been around that long.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I tried it. It's a really, really good rum. I think it's made in Puerto Rico, if I'm not mistaken.
Cool.
But yeah, really good stuff. But I kind of been on a rum kick here lately. I did my banana rum, got the first run out of it, and I got out of a 5 gallon. I had 15 gallons of mash. I still got 10 gallons of it. I got to run, but I ran the first 5 gallons of it, and I got about almost 4 full quart jars of 100 plus, and I turned one of them into a jar of Banana Fosters.
Right.
And I turned one of them into a spice rum. The other 2 are just plain banana.
Oh, that's here recently then. Yeah.
Like 2 days ago.
Yeah, I was going to say, we were just talking about that a few days ago.
Or whatever night we was on, and I was on there doing it. Was that Saturday night?
Yep.
Yeah.
April, we will let you know as soon as there's a contract signed and it's all set in stone. We'll be giving out the dates. And for those that don't know, that's Miss April Parker, the Queen of Peach Rum, or the Queen of Peach Brandy, the Queen of Brandy, and she's peachy. She makes a really good peach brandy.
She won that last year
She
with the
won it
peach.
last year. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Walked away with it easily. It's easy judge. So maybe we can get her to teach how she makes
Yeah.
brandy. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You willing
I
to
mean,
give
I
up
would
those stinkers,
anybody
April?
anybody that's got something that they're really good at and they want to share that with other people, that's exactly what we need. And if I
Absolutely.
have to, we'll make a special location with a little stage and stuff there where people can gather around and get you a little small PA system.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want to do. It's we really want to focus on the farm aspect, and that includes the teaching aspects, showing somebody else how to do it too. That's what it's all about. One of
Yep.
my favorite quotes from somebody on the Moonshiner show was Amanda, and basically, I can't quote this exactly, but she basically just said, you know, knowledge should be given out freely. So if you know something and you know how to do something, give that stuff away for free. It shouldn't be hoarded. Knowledge shouldn't be hoarded. It should be given away freely. That's what she had said.
What's going on,
And
Wendy? And and my thing is, people aren't born with this knowledge. Everybody
right.
has to assimilate the knowledge somehow, whether they picked it up reading or picked it up from somebody else. You got to get it somehow, somewhere, and we want you to get it from us because we've been through the mistakes. We want your hobby to be fun and safe, and we want it to be enjoyable. We don't want you to buy steel and to get all this and go through all this, and then your first batch tastes like shit, and it's like mine did the first few times back in the 70s. I had nobody to help me, but don't want you to get discouraged when if it tastes bad. So we want to get you off on the right foot and get everything going, and make you happy with your hobby and impress your friends, because there's nothing more like, here, try this bottle, and hand them something in a bottle, different unique bottle, or say, tape a little something over it and hide the brand of it or something, and say, try this stuff I got the other day, and they try it and they're, oh man, that's pretty good, where'd you get that? And that's what I made. And they'll be like, wow, because yeah, you'll be making stuff better than you can get on the shelf in no time.
I'll tell you what, the first year, like I told everybody earlier, first year I'd never done no moonshine or anything, and probably only tasted actual moonshine a couple of times in my life. Here I am starting a moonshine and bourbon festival, and
Yeah.
so at the end of that one, people like Phil Billy and Silcott and some of the other ones, they all came up to me and they was like, "Hey, are you going to make moonshine by the time the festival comes next year?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know, maybe." And one of them offered to make a still, other ones offered me the knowledge and whatever. So I just started listening, and that's what I did. Listened to everybody that I could, called everybody that I could, and I will say I haven't put out anything that tasted bad yet. No, not a
He's
thing. Every bit of it tastes as good. Every bit of it
definitely
has.
a quick study, Dan. I mean, just in a couple of years, has turned out great stuff. He's being modest. He's turned out some really good stuff.
Well, it
So
ain't even a couple of years. If we're going to be non-modest, it's like 7 months.
I don't,
I ran my first batch the 1st of August.
was it after last year's festival?
No, it's right before, like a month beforehand, month and a
Okay.
half.
All right. Yeah, I guess that didn't been a full year. Yeah. So yeah, definitely. For somebody, like I say, at it less than a year, and boom, turned out some shelf worthy stuff. So yeah, it's a fun hobby, and it's a lot more enjoyable when you turn out good product, and when you have quality instruction. There's a lot
Oh,
of people out
absolutely.
there that are offering a lot of assistance and a lot of help that. I'm not going to say that they're offering bad information. They were just misinformed by the person that told them. And that kind of gets handed down, handed down, handed down. And it's just many ways to do it. But there are sometimes are good, better, and best ways. And sometimes there's poor ways of doing it, but you still arrive at a drinkable drink. But that's why we have different, top shelf, bottom shelf, middle shelf type liquors, for different methods of doing it, I guess you could say. So we try to, help you learn from our mistakes. Yeah. And after they, learn to do what we taught them, that's when you can start experimenting, and say, well, I wonder if instead of using just sugar, maybe I'll try panela, or maybe, I'll try some molasses, or let's just see what they're meaning by inverting some sugar, and let's try to just convert grains and use no sugar. And I
Right.
always heard potatoes have a lot of starch. I wonder if that'd be like, and rice, and then you can just branch out and start doing a lot of other things and start experimenting, and get a little help if you need. We're always there. So it's not like you're going to get stuck. So if you have any questions right in the middle of it, there's usually somebody there that can help you.
I've called plenty of people and texted plenty of people and
Yeah,
messaged
yeah,
them.
yeah. I got a
Whenever, if
few
I
little
got a question, I'm
messages.
gonna ask you.
Yeah,
So, and ain't no question a dumb question. Well, at least most
no,
of them ain't anyway.
only the ones that you're afraid to ask.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to ask, because everybody asks the same questions, and I know, some of these groups, they get tired of answering the same question over and over and over, but that's just because people have the same questions every time. So
Right.
some of these groups, you ask that same basic question, they'll be like, everybody asks that. Why don't you need to do this or that? And they get all crabby, and they, make fun of you and belittle you and call you a dumbass and all this stuff, and they don't remember that they asked the same damn question, and somebody had to help them, and they asked the same question 50 other people did before them, but that was okay.
You know what? You know what the most effective speaker or the most effective teacher in the whole world is? Is
Mistake.
no, not
That's
them. They're
that
like
was my teacher.
no.
Making mistakes.
The most effective speaker, which can also be a teacher, is somebody that speaks at the level to the lowest IQ in the room. Because if you're reaching them, you're reaching everybody. You don't have to sound like Einstein. You
Right.
got to be, but you have to be able to get. If you can only talk to people that's here, and these people here have no idea what you're saying, you're not an effective speaker. You're effective for that group up, but you're not effective for everybody. So to be effective,
Yeah.
talk like Donald Trump down here. We're the dumbest person on earth ought to be able to understand it. And I
Yeah.
mean, honestly,
And
that's what
that's
he
what
does.
I try to do that too.
Yeah,
I try to sneak the science in on them.
right,
I'll sneak the science in while I'm saying it in simple terms, and people don't realize that they're learning the science, because if you start mentioning science, they just immediately put up a block, like I
right.
kind of was with calculus and stuff. So
Yeah,
if you
absolutely.
don't have to impress people. A lot of people want to impress people with all these big scientific words and all that, and there's so many ways to explain the same thing without using them. So we're not here to impress anybody. We're just trying to genuinely help. And for those that want to learn the science, we're there for that too. We can get up
Absolutely.
to a fairly complex, upper level, but we try to keep it simple, and especially for beginners. But if you got more complex questions, we'll take them.
And that's how I learned. I didn't know squat about it. Didn't know jack shit about doing anything. I didn't know anything about moonshine distilling. Never made no beer. Never made no
Yeah.
wine. Never made nothing. The only thing I've ever made is moonshine. That's it. Well, and
Right.
bourbon. I do got some aged stuff now that's going on about 6 months now.
Right.
So, but
Yeah, I have a few questions that you had, but yeah, you were a quick study, and
yeah,
there were a lot of people
absolutely.
there to help you as well. And
Well,
yeah,
I've went on every show that I could get on too, as far as even if I don't get on there and talk, I get there, I go and listen. I listen to your guys' show all the time. I listen to
right.
all the guys on your show all the time. Frayed not, he's been great. I talk to Frayed a lot. If I got a question, I'll shoot him a message. Sometimes I'll shoot you a message. I'll shoot Amanda a message, JJ message, anybody I know that I think might have the answer for the particular thing I got going on. I'll shoot them a message and ask them. The worst that could happen is they wouldn't answer me back. So,
Yep. Well, I'm available anytime, brother.
well, man, I need to hop off here. Got to run to the
All
store
right.
before it closes.
Well,
So,
yeah, I'm going to answer a few more questions if anybody has them. If not, we're going to sign off. I know this is Frey's night. I didn't try to elbow him out, but I thought he was going to move to Monday because he mentioned that Saturday on the shit show. So I thought he was taking Mondays, and so maybe I misunderstood or something going on. But I don't want to cut in on his time. But I also wanted to get this info out about the farm to bottle. And hopefully by Friday or next Wednesday or Friday, we'll have a date for you. As soon as we get that, we will post the ads, and they'll post it in the group, and we'll get that to everybody as soon as possible.
well, it's going to be in early to mid September. That's the best I can do you for today.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Well, everybody go visit Fred Knott and see what's going on over there, and tell him we sorry and we said howdy, and go flood his podcast and tell him I'm sorry.
No doubt.
Y'all,
All
we'll
right.
see y'all next week or Friday. So, or no, tomorrow night. We'll be here tomorrow night. So we'll see y'all then. Till then, shine on. Peace out.
Yep. Take care.